Welcome to Young Money with Tracy Bissett, the advice show for young millionaires in the making. It's time for some $1 Million Straight Talk with Tracy, President and Chief Financial Fitness Trainer at Bissett Financial Fitness. Each week, Tracy's going to tell you what you need to know now at the beginning of your earning curve. Basic and advanced financial concepts made clear, healthy money habits and the missteps to avoid, and all the stuff that you can do to set yourself up for a future of fantastic financial freedom. Ready to lace up and start this week's financial fitness training? Let's do it, Tracy.
Welcome to the Young Money Podcast. I'm really excited. We have a very special guest today, Nyima Gyalmo. Welcome, Nyima.
Thank you.
Nyima Gyalmo is a passionate digital marketing specialist at Social Sherpa. She helps small businesses connect with their customers online, leveraging social media and search engine marketing. Welcome to the show, Nyima.
Thank you so much, Tracy. I appreciate that.
So I've given a brief description of your bio, but I'd love, Nyima, if you can share a little bit about your business and what a day for you looks like.
Yes. So I think it always starts with kind of like doing some level of project management on my own personal, I guess, what I'm going to do for the day. I communicate usually with my teams in the morning and make sure that everyone's on the same page in terms for every project. And then typically I will go through all of my different campaigns that I'm managing. And then again, go back and forth between teams. So it's very team based, and then looking at different projects and making sure that everything's running smoothly. So that majority of times that takes most of my day.
Oh, I'm sure. And how many people do you have on your team?
So right now we actually have a small team. So we only have 4 people in the team.
Great. Well, for a lot of people, though, who may be listening, that's a pretty big team. If they're doing things mostly on their own, or they have outsourced help some of the time, but not all of the time. So that's wonderful.
Thank you.
Now, when you think about your success to date, and you've achieved so much success already at your young age, what would you say is attributed to that? And what I'm really thinking about, has there been any key success factors or themes that have showed up over the years that have led to your success or just been a part of it?
Yes. So, everybody definitely measures success very differently. And for me, that has always been, I set out to do something and then being able to actually follow through. And I do feel very lucky in the sense that I feel like right now, I'm in the right position, in the position that I was looking to be in the past. So it does feel like a great follow through. Today I'm running a team and running Social Sherpa. And I think 3 main things that really contributed to that is, number one, being very self-aware. So I've always been very self-aware of myself, always checking myself, being very accountable to anything that, when things don't work out, I try to figure out, how is it that I could have done things differently? What is it that, I did wrong, and, trying to learn from those things. And that's helped me. The other component of my success, I think, comes from being very persistent, because I definitely had a lot of rejection even in the short lifespan that I had so far. Because I've been working, since I was in grade 7, and, I've been helping my mom. We were in tables, we would run tables, all over the place with festivals and so on. And sales is not an easy work. And on top of that, throughout school, I did different work for people, and I was doing freelance WordPress website design for people, and then I was also doing a lot of different work, and and also trying to look for jobs with very little experience. That was also very tough at the time, but always making sure that doing everything in my capacity to make sure that I'm basically presenting the best foot forward. So that has helped me get through those moments and being able to keep trying. That's where the persistence comes in. And lastly, being the one component that I learned was, not just to be critical of myself, but also being compassionate to myself. So I've learned that, it's important as we grow up to be a parent to ourselves, where you're regulating ourselves in terms of, okay, this is something that you shouldn't do. Hey, this is something that you did wrong. But at the same time, also being compassionate and, when things are not working out, being able to be your own cheerleader and then, picking myself up. So I would say the 3 things that really helped me to be successful today is the self-awareness, being compassionate and being a good parent to myself. And then lastly, being very persistent in what I do.
Well, I love that. And I certainly, from the stories you shared, resiliency is another one. And I know you care very much about your clients and you're a very kind individual. So many key things. And I appreciate the honesty and candor with which you share them, because I think that the Young Money listeners will be able to learn and benefit from what you shared. Now, you mentioned when you were in grade 7, you were doing some things with your mom at festivals. What was that? What was that about?
Oh, so, in Cabbage Town, so that's where that's when we first migrated to Canada. That's where we were.
And that's in Toronto, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's in Toronto. And I was living with my siblings. We're all living in the same one room. So my mom, she's always been very savvy. And she would go to any opportunity she had where they would allow her to put a table out and sell stuff, she would. She always took me along. So she would take a suitcase. We wouldn't even take the bus because we didn't want to spend money on the bus fare. We'd go on. So there was Cabbage Town Festival is the one that is most notable to my mind. And we'd go there, would basically take the suitcase, go all the way down, and then actually set up table on the roadside. And then the other one was where there was a Bay Street at Bay and Wellesley. There's a building that allows tables indoors. So we started setting up tables in there as well every Saturday. And so things like that, like St. Lawrence Market, they had little tables outside. So she would take me with her and we would set up tables and she would tell me to say hello to everyone. And that was the whole thing.
And what were you guys selling? What was in the suitcase?
Oh my goodness. So anything she could find, so she would sell crafts. I don't even know how she's able to fit all this stuff. So she would sell cotton dresses, she would sell scarves, she would sell jewelry, all kinds of stuff that, she can fit in there. So yeah, basically pretty much knickknacks, everything.
And if I'm not mistaken, you have many siblings, right?
Yeah, I do. I do have a lot of siblings. Total count is actually 8, but 6 is like the immediate. So I do have a lot of siblings that I grew up with for sure.
So you're probably also very good at sharing and sticking up for yourself to live in a one room with that many people. So really good. Thanks for sharing that. It's really interesting to learn about people's backgrounds. So I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Now, when you think about your life so far, have you had a big financial challenge or something that you wished you'd known a little bit earlier on the financial side, whether it's a personal finance or something you've learned in your business?
Yeah, so I think the one thing that I never learned was the one thing that I always thought about when it comes to finance was that it was like a very complex and, very hard to become wealthy if you're not wealthy already. It was something that I didn't really fully understand when I was growing up. But, luckily and in my lifetime, I never felt like I was missing anything. I knew we weren't the richest in the block, but my mom made sure that we always had good food to eat and shelter. But in terms of the money factor, I would say that I always thought that there was a huge complicated formula to, becoming wealthier and then having a financial freedom. And so that's something that I kind of learned as I went through school and saw different types of habits across different people. And it's something that I had to learn. I guess I just kind of picked it up by kind of changing my environment and seeing that some people were being more, budgeting differently, or they were spending their money differently, or they were being more conscious of how they were spending their money and saving. So that's something that I had to learn, I think, when I grew up. Growing up, it was, I would say I didn't really have anything missing. But when I was, as a grown up though, I learned that there is no complex formula to building wealth for sure.
Do you commingle your personal or business expenses? Do you run your business from your bank account? Or defer to your bookkeeper or accountant for financial matters? If you do one or all of these things, the live Biz Money Mistakes Masterclass, Top 3 Mistakes to Avoid and How to Take Control of Your Business is for you. This live training has been specifically designed for entrepreneurs with sales in the 6 to 7 figure range who want to proactively change the way they are handling their money matters and navigate the current environment with success. So if you are an entrepreneur with sales at these levels and want to make informed, powerful money decisions, you do not want to miss this important class. Head over to the show notes, check out the link. It's bizmoneymistakes.com so you can register today. Stop waiting for things to change, take back control of your business, and join me for the live Biz Money Mistakes Masterclass.
Yeah, I think a lot of the listeners are in kind of the same position as you, and everybody's kind of figuring things out. And so now moving really on to entrepreneurship, based on your experience to date, and certainly you are managing a team, you're working with various clients, and you've done some freelance work as well. What success tips can you share from your own experience with Social Sherpa and some of your freelance stuff?
That's a good question. So for me personally, I think the one thing that I have to say is attitude. So I had to learn that for myself. And it's not enough to just show up for yourself, but also showing up for other people. So when you just show up for yourself, that's something that I was doing quite a lot in the beginning, especially because I was on, the survival mode, right? So with the I think Maslow's hierarchy of needs, there's the stage one, that's where I was at. And so I would always show up for myself. So every environment that I went to, I would present myself up. But I learned that, hey, you have to show up for other people as well. And attitude is something that is, I think critical when it comes to entrepreneurship, especially because, that's where you're trying to help other people. And, that's what's going to feed other people as well, because it's your energy, right? So we all feed off of energy from each other. And even for yourself, once you have a good attitude, it also can help you have a good attitude and have a great stamina, like on a day-to-day basis too.
Excellent. Anything on the financial side that comes to mind that you would encourage people to do, either because you started out doing it the right way or a good way, or maybe something you learned along the way?
Oh, yeah. So the one thing that I did learn along the way was, in the I think it was the masterclass, cash flow masterclass, that control your masterclass that you had going on. And I was lucky enough to participate in that. And one of the biggest thing I learned was about margins. You forget, right? So how much money you're actually making. So that really opened up my eyes for sure.
Perfect. And I know that you were an excellent student in that class, really taking everything in. And within 1 or 2 weeks, you were able to go out and increase your prices because you were seeing what was being charged in the market. You saw your margins, you knew what your goals were for the business. So really great at taking action, which I think is wonderful, Nyima.
Yeah, and that I think one thing to also mention is that, that really saved me more time. I just, instead of relying on volume, I, start relying on smaller number of clients, but charging more. And that saved me a lot more time for sure. I have weekends to myself now.
Excellent. You probably still do some work, I imagine.
Yeah,
sometimes, but it's more of a choice. You don't have to.
Exactly. It's more of a choice for sure.
Excellent. When you think of who inspires you when it comes to financial matters, it could be anyone, it could be somebody you see in the media, a celebrity, or it could be someone in your life. Who comes to mind for you?
For me, it has to be Dave Ramsey's like simple, no BS, personal financial philosophy. So Dave Ramsey, he's a huge personality in US. Yeah, have you heard of him, by the way?
Yes.
Yes. So what his approach to finance is.
Yeah, but why don't you share for the listeners what you appreciate it, why you find it so refreshing and kind of simple and straightforward?
Yeah, I think I really appreciated that he had a simple like baby steps. So he has like seven baby steps to building wealth for the average person, and he keeps it very simple. Spend less than you make sure to pay off your debt. That's a big thing, right? In North America, I think one culture shock that I had was that everybody does have a lot of debt. I didn't realize that was a huge. That's definitely something very different from the East. In North America, it's very not normal to have a lot of student loans, student debt, to take student debt. And so that's something that definitely was eye-opening for me when it comes to finances.
Excellent. Now, before I let you go, are there any final pieces of advice or insights you'd love to leave the Young Money listeners with?
I think the main, final piece of advice for the Young Money listeners that I would have is, always take control of, face the problems instead of hiding from them. If there's some kind of obstacle that comes your way, don't take the flight, try to face it. And then, even if something doesn't go right, that's a great learning opportunity. And it's, when you face your problem and the uneasiness, that's when you that's when you grow, and that's when you're most likely to move to the next stage of your life, or next, level. So I would definitely recommend everyone to always face your problems head on, so that it's going to help you either progress. It's going to help you progress forward, whether it will work, the problem gets solved or not. So I would definitely recommend everyone to always take the challenges head on.
Oh, I love that. And I think it's a great way to approach things. Certainly when I'm talking with clients and they may be struggling with debt or they may have some other financial issues going on, the best thing they can do is kind of confront it. Almost immediately a weight gets lifted because you've acknowledged whatever the situation is and now you can actually start on the problem solving. So that's great that you've highlighted that for everybody. I know you're a big fan of continuous learning and you're always teaching students as well in different social media things, platforms, and different programs. Can you tell us a little bit about your teaching?
Oh, yeah. So I've always also found that teaching is, another medium to learning as well. So I always run, every time I learn something, I always, I've shared it through workshops. I found that when you share the knowledge, you learn even more as you hear more questions, you're answering them. And as you're answering those questions, you realize, oh, wow, I'm definitely learning more. And, you're, and you're sharing the information and it really helps kind of create more depth to the knowledge that you do have because you're applying it to different circumstances, different questions that people are asking. So I do teach at a college too now, and I do workshops all over the place for sure.
And what kind of topics would you do your trainings on or your workshops?
So most of my trainings are on LinkedIn B2B marketing, or we have Facebook retargeting advertising. And one of the courses that we're actually launching for November is social media masterclass for just businesses in general. So along the lines of social media or advertising, that's where we mostly teach. That's what I mostly teach.
Excellent. Well, that leads me into my last question for you. So what are you working on now and where can our listeners go to learn more about you? So you've mentioned the upcoming masterclass in November.
Yeah, so I'm also working on my first ever book. So it's called,
Woo!
Yeah, that's right. It's definitely not as easy as I guess, I don't even know if it seems easy for most people, but it definitely takes a lot more concentration than expected. And so, yeah, my first book is going to be on 10 commandments of social media. So right now it's set for launch in February, end of January to early February. That's what the date is set for. You can find out more about me personally on thesocialsherpa.ca. You can I'm sure there'll be a description link or something. And you can definitely find me on LinkedIn if you want to just get in touch.
Absolutely. And we'll make sure we put the links to all of your social media platforms there so that people can follow up if they have some questions or want to get in touch with you. So thank you so much, Nyima, for joining me today. I know that I'm taking away a lot of great lessons, as I'm sure the listeners are. I really appreciated, as I said, the candor with which you shared about your success to date and what's led to that. I really liked how you talked about being very self-aware. And I think that too often it's easy not to develop that skill, but it is so important. You talked about being compassionate with yourself as well as persistence. And I added in kind of resilience and sharing and standing up for yourself. It was really interesting to learn about what you were doing with your mom. And I just imagine all of the lessons you were learning as you were helping her sell things. Really practical tips for the entrepreneurs or people considering entrepreneurship about making sure you check your attitude and that you're showing up for not only yourself, but for others, really focusing in on your margins and your pricing, which is great. It's very exciting to hear that you've got a book in the works. So thank you so much again, and congratulations on the upcoming book.
Thank you, Tracy, for having me. I really appreciate it.
You are welcome. So there you have it, listeners. Nyima Gyalmo, a passionate digital marketing specialist at Social Sherpa. Until next time, take good care and stay financially fit.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. To all you millionaires in the making out there, if you love this podcast, please subscribe on iTunes to keep your financial fitness training going. Oh, and leave us a review. And be sure to visit Visit, 2 S's, 2 T's, financialfitness.com to take your free financial fitness assessment. Find out how financially fit you really are. See you next week, young millionaires to be.